It is, Lin brother. This is where Khaderbai received most of his lessons from the sage, Idris. It was my privilege to be with them for some of those lessons. We stood in silence for a while, remembering the dead Khan, Khaderbai, each of us pulling a different cloak of recollections over our shoulders. Is it far from here? Not far, he said, leading the way out of the courtyard. But it is the hardest part of the climb. Clinging to branches, grasses and vines, we dragged ourselves up a steeper path that led to the summit. It was a climb that might have been easy work in the dry season, with rocks and stones solidly embedded in the earthen cliff face and the narrow track. But in those twilight days of the long monsoon, it was a hard climb. Halfway to the summit we encountered a young man, who was descending the same path. The incline at that point was so steep that he had to slide down backwards on weeds and vines. He was carrying a large plastic water can. In the encounter with us on the narrow path, he had to crush against us, slipping shirt to shirt and grasping at us, as we did with him. What fun, he said in Hindi, grinning happily. Can I bring you something from down? Chocolate, Abdullah said, as the young man slipped below us, disappearing into the vegetation that crowded the vertical path. I forgot to buy it. I'll pay you when you come up. Thick. The young man called back from somewhere below. When Abdullah and I reached the summit, I discovered that it was a mesa, flat-topped and expansive, giving onto the last jagged half-peak of the mountain. Several large caves, cut into that steep fragment of the peak, offered views of the mesa and the many valleys rolling into one another below, and to the island city, shrouded in mist and smoke on the horizon. Still puffing, I glanced around, trying to get a feel for the place. It was paved with small white pebbles. I hadn't seen any of them in the valley below, or during the climb. They'd been carried to the summit, one sack at a time. As punishing as the work must have been, the effect was dazzling, serene and unsullied. There was a kitchen area, open on three sides and covered with a stretched green canvas, faded to a color that neatly matched the rain-bleached leaves of the surrounding trees. Another area, completely obscured by canvas shrouds, looked to be a bathroom with several alcoves. A third covered area contained 2 desks and several canvas deck chairs, stacked in rows. Beyond them, the open mouths of the 4 caves revealed a few details of their interiors. A wooden cabinet in the entrance to one, several metal trunks heaped inside another, and a large, blackened fireplace with a smoldering fire visible in a third. As I was looking at the caves, a young man emerged from the smallest of them. You are Mr. Shantaram? I turned to Abdullah, frowning my surprise. Master Idris asked me to bring you here, Abdullah said. It was Idris who invited you here, through me. Me? He nodded. I turned back to the young man. This is for you, he said, handing me a business card. I read the short message. There are no gurus. Mystified, I handed the card to Abdullah. He read it, laughed, and handed it back to me. Quite a calling card, I said, reading it again. It's like a lawyer, saying there are no fees. Idris will explain it himself, no doubt. But, perhaps, not tonight, the young man said, gesturing toward the cave that held a fireplace. Master Ji is engaged with some philosophers tonight, in a temple below the mountain. So, please come. I have made tea, just now. I accepted the invitation gratefully, sat down on a handmade wooden stool some little way into the cave, and sipped at the tea when it arrived. Lost in my thoughts, as I too often am, I guess, I let my mind worry itself back to the fight with Concannon. Cooler and clearer after the long ride and the long climb to the summit, I looked back into Concannon's eyes, as I sat there, sipping sweet tea in the cave of the sage, Idris. I suddenly realized it wasn't anger that I'd felt after Concannon's mindless and brutal attack. It was disappointment. It was the kind of disappointment that belongs to friends, not enemies. But by joining the Scorpions, he'd made himself new enemies. Our guys had no choice but to hit back at the Scorpions. If they didn't, the Scorpions would see it as weakness and hit us again. The trouble had started. I had to get Carla out of the city. She was connected to the Sanjay company. And there it was. I didn't think of Lisa, or Didier, or even myself. I thought of Carla. Lisa was at risk. Concannon knew her. He'd met her. I should have thought of Lisa first, but it was Carla. It was Carla. In that twisted knot of love, staring at the scatter of ember roses in the soft ashes of the fire, I became aware of a perfumed scent. I thought someone must have been offering frankincense at another fire nearby. But I knew that perfume. I knew it well. Then I heard Carla's voice. "Tell me a joke, Shantaram." The skin on my face tightened. I felt the chill of fever. A blood river rushed upwards through my body and shuddered in my chest until my eyes burned with it. "Snap out of it," I said to myself. "Look at her. Break the spell." I turned to look at her. It didn't help. She stood in the mouth of the cave, smiling at the wind, her profile defying everything, her black hair and silver scarf trailing banners of desire behind her. High, strong forehead, crescent eyes, fine sharp nose, and the gentle jut of a pointed chin protecting the broken promise of her lips. "Carla." "So," she drawled, "you got a joke, or don't you?" "How many parsecs does it take to change a light globe?" I asked. 2 years. "I don't see you," she said, still not turning to face me, "and the best you can do is a light bulb joke?" "It's 23 months and 16 days. You want a joke, or don't you?" "Okay. So how many parsecs does it take to change a light globe?" "Parsecs don't change light globes, because they know they'll never get another one as good as the old one." She threw her head back and laughed. It was a good laugh, a great laugh, from a great heart, strong and free, a hawk riding dusk. The laugh that broke every chain in my heart. "Come here," she said. I wrapped my arms around her, pressing her against that hollow tree, my life, where I'd hidden the dream that she would love me, forever. Chapter 27. Everyone has one eye that's softer and sadder, and one that's hard and bright. Carla's left eye was softer and sadder than her right, and maybe it was because I could only see that soft light, greener than new leaves, that I had no resistance to her. I couldn't do anything but listen, and smile, and try to be funny now and then. But it was all right. It was okay. It was a renegade peace, in those moments on the morning after the mountain brought her back to me. The morning of that softer, sadder eye. We'd spent the night in separate caves. There were 3 other women on the mountaintop mesa, all of them young Indian students of the wise man, Idris. The women's cave was smaller, but cleaner and better appointed. There were rope beds and mattresses, where we'd slept on blankets stretched over the bare ground, and there were several metal cupboards, suspended on blocks of stone to keep out rats and crawling insects. We'd made do with a few rusted hooks to keep our belongings off the dusty floor. I hadn't slept well. I'd only spoken to Carla for a few minutes after that first hug, that first sight of her for almost 2 years. And then she was gone, again. Abdullah, bowing gallantly to Carla, had drawn me away to join the other men, gathered for a meal at the entrance to the men's cave. I was walking backwards, looking at her, and she was already laughing at me, 2 minutes after we re-met. 2 years, in 2 minutes. During the meal, we met 6 young devotees and students, who exchanged stories of what it was that had brought them to the top of the mountain. Abdullah and I listened, without comment. By the time we'd finished eating the modest meal of dal and rice, it was late. We cleaned our teeth, washed our faces, and settled down to sleep. But my little sleep drowned in a nightmare that choked me awake before dawn. I decided to beat the early risers to the simple bathroom. I used the long drop toilet, then took a small pot of water and a piece of soap, and washed myself with half a bucket of water, standing on the pallet floor of the canvas screen bathroom. Dried and dressed and cold awake, I made my way through the dark camp to sit by the guttering fire. I'd just built the embers into a flame with twigs of kindling around a battered coffee pot, when Carla came to stand beside me. "What are you doing here?" Carla purred. "If I don't get coffee soon, I'm gonna bite a tree." "You know what I mean." "Oh, you mean, on the mountain?" "I could ask you the same thing. I asked you first." I laughed gently. "You're better than that, Carla. Maybe I'm not what I used to be. We're all what we used to be, even when we're not." "That's not telling me what you're doing here," she said. "What we tell is rarely what we do." "I'm not doing an aphorism contest," she said, frowning a smile and sitting down beside me. "We are the art that sees us as art." "No way," she said. "Keep your lines to yourself. Fanaticism means that if you're not against me, you're against me. I could report you for aphorism harassment, do you know that?" "Honor is the art of being humble," I replied, deadpan. We were speaking softly, but our eyes were sharp. "Okay," she whispered, "you're on." "My turn?" Of course it's your turn. I'm already 3 up on you. Every goodbye is a dress rehearsal for the last goodbye, she said. Not bad. Hello can lie, sometimes, but goodbye always tells the truth. Fiction is fact, made stranger. The truth about anything is a lie about something else. Come on, step it up, Shantaram. What's the rush? There's plenty more where they came from. You got something or not? Oh, I see, it's to throw me off, and put me off my game. Okay, tough girl, here we go. Inspiration is the grace of peace. Truth is the warden in the prison of the soul. Slavery can't be unchained from the system. Slavery is the system. Truth is the shovel, she fired back. Your mission is the whole. I laughed. Every fragment is the whole entire, Carla said, firing at will. The whole cannot be divided, I said, without a tyranny of parts. Tyranny is privilege, unrestrained. We're privileged by fate, I said, because we're damned by fate. Fate, she grinned. One of my favorites. Fate plays poker and only wins by bluffing. Fate is the magician and time is the trick. Fate is the spider and time is the web. Shall I go on? Dark funny, I said, happier than I'd been in a while. Nice. Try this. All men become their fathers, but only when they're not looking. She laughed. I don't know where Carla was, but I was with her, at last, in a thing we both loved, and she was my heaven. The truth is a bully we all pretend to like. That's an old one, I protested, but a good one, and worth a second run. Wadaya got? Fear is the friend who warns you, I offered. Loneliness is the friend who tells you to get out more, she countered. Come on, let's move it along here. There's no country too unjust, too corrupt, or too inept to afford itself a stirring national anthem. Big political, she smiled. I like it. Try this on for size. Tyranny is fear in human form. I laughed. Music is death, made sublime. Grief is ghost empathy, she hit back quickly. Damn, you give up? No way. The way to love is to love the way. Koans, she said, grasping at straws. Shantaram. No problem. I'm always ready to give love a kick in the ass. How about this? Love is a mountain that kills you every time you climb it. Courage. Courage defines us. Anyone who doesn't give up, and that's just about everybody, is a man or woman of courage. Stop with the courage already. Happiness is. Happiness is the hyperactive child of contentment. Justice means. Justice, like love and power, is measured in mercies. War. All wars are culture wars, and all cultures are written on the bodies of women. Life. If you're not living for something, you're dying for nothing, she parried, her forefinger on my chest. Damn. Damn, what? Damn, you got better, girl. So, you're saying I won? I'm saying, you got a lot better. And I won, right? Because I can do this all day long, you know. She was serious, her eyes filled with tiger light. I love you, I said. She looked away. After a time she spoke to the fire. You still haven't answered my question. What are you doing here? We'd been husky whispering in the contest, trying not to wake the others. The sky was dark, but a ridge of dawn the color of faded leaves hovered over the distant, cloudy horizon. Oh, wait a minute, I frowned, realizing at last. You think I came up here because you're here? You think I set this up? Did you? Would you want me to? She turned the half profile on me, that sadder, softer eyes searching my face as if she was reading a map. Red-yellow fire shadows played with her features, firelight writing faith and hope on her face, as fire does on every human face, because we're creatures of fire. I looked away. I had no idea you were here, I said. It was Abdullah's idea. She laughed softly. Was she disappointed or relieved? I couldn't tell. What about you? I asked, throwing a few sticks on the fire. You didn't suddenly get religion. Say it ain't so. I bring Idris hash, she said. He's got a taste for Kashmiri. It was my turn to laugh. How long has this been going on? About a year. She was dreaming something, looking out at the dawning forest. What's he like? She looked at me again. He's authentic. You'll meet him later. How did you meet him? I didn't come up here to meet him. I came to meet Khalid. He's the one who told me that Idris was here. Khalid? Which Khalid? Your Khalid, she said softly. Our Khalid. He's alive? Very much so. Alhamdulillah. And he's up here? I'd pay good money to see Khalid up here. No, he's got an ashram, down in the valley. The hard-fisted, uncompromising Palestinian had been a member of the Quator Council. He'd been with us on the smuggling run into Afghanistan. He killed a man, a close friend, because the friend endangered us all, and then he walked alone and unarmed into the snow. I'd been a friend, a close friend, but I'd heard nothing of Khalid's return to the city, or anything about an ashram. An ashram? Yeah, she sighed. Her face and manner had changed. She seemed to be bored. What kind of ashram? The profitable kind, she said. It has a majestic menu. That, you've got to give him. Meditation rooms, yoga, massage, aromatherapies and chanting. They chant a lot. It's like they never heard of funk. And it's at the base of this mountain? At the start of the valley, on the west side. She frowned a yawn at me. Abdullah goes there all the time, she said. Didn't he talk to you about it? Something staggered inside me. I was glad to know that Khalid was alive and well, but the cherished friendship felt betrayed, and my heart stumbled. It can't be true. The truth comes in two kinds, she laughed gently. The one you want to hear, and the one you should. Don't start that again. Sorry, she said. Sucker punch. Couldn't resist it. I was suddenly angry. Maybe it was that sense of betrayal. Maybe it was old crying, finally forcing its way past the shield of softness, gleaming in her kinder eye. Do you love Ranjit? She looked at me, both eyes, soft and hard, staring into mine. I thought I admired him, once upon a time, she said, not that it's any of your business. And you don't admire me? Why would you ask that? Are you afraid to tell me what you think? Of course not, she said evenly. I'm wondering why you don't already know what I think of you. I don't know what that means, so how about you just answer my question? Mine first. Why do you want to know? Is it disappointment in yourself, or jealousy of him? You know, the thing about disappointment, Carla, is that it never lets you down. But it's not about that. I want to know what you think, because it matters to me. Okay, you asked for it. No, I don't admire you. Not today. We were silent for a while. You know what I'm talking about, she said at last. I don't, actually. I frowned again and she laughed, the little laugh that bubbles up from an in-joke. Look at your face, she said. What happened to you? Fell off your pride again, right? Happily, the fall's not too far. She laughed again, but it quickly became a frown. Can you even explain it? Why you've been fighting? Why a fight always finds you? Of course I couldn't. Being kidnapped and strapped to a banana lounge by the Scorpion Gang. How could I explain that? I didn't understand it myself, not any of it, not even Concannon. Especially not Concannon. I didn't know, then, that I was standing on a tattered corner of a bloody carpet that would soon cover most of the world. Who says I have to explain it? Can you? She repeated. Can you explain the things you did to us back then, Carla? She flinched. Don't hold back, Carla. Maybe I should chase to the cut, so to speak, and tell you the answer. Go ahead. Sure you've got the stomach for it? Sure. Okay then, no, wait what? My conversation subroutine is crying out for that coffee. You're kidding, right? No, I'm grievously coffee deprived. That's how you kicked my ass. So I did win? You won. Can I have the coffee now? I used my sleeve to snatch the pot from the fire and pour some coffee into a chipped mug. I offered it to Carla, but she wrinkled her lip in a proscenium arch of disgust. I'm reading a no, I guessed. How's that magic act workin' out? Drink the damn coffee, yar. I sipped at the coffee. It was too strong and too sweet and too bitter, all at the same time. Perfect. Okay. Good, I croaked, coffee shivering hello. I'm good. No, wait, I found a joint. Okay, I said, puffing it alight. I'm good. Lemme have it. Sure you don't need a manicure or a massage. Carla growled. I'm so good, now. Smack me around all you like, Carla. Okay, here goes. The marks on your face, and all the scars on your body, are like graffiti, scrawled by your own delinquent talent. Not bad. I'm not finished. Your heart's a tenant, in the broken-down tenement of your life. Anything else? The slumlord's coming to collect the rent, Lynn, she said, a little more softly. Soon. I knew her well enough to know that she'd written and rehearsed those lines. I'd seen her journals, filled with notes for the clever things she said. Rehearsed or not, she was right. Carla, look. You're playing Russian roulette with fate, she said. You know that, and your money's on fate? Is that what this is about? Fate loads the gun. Fate loads every gun in the world. Anything else? While you do this, she said, even more softly, you're only breaking things. It was just true enough to hurt, no matter how softly she said it. You know, if you keep coming on to me like this. You got funnier, she said, laughing a little. I'm still what I used to be. We stared at one another for a few moments. Look, Carla, I don't know what it is with Ranjit, and I don't know how it's 2 whole years since I looked at you and heard your voice. I just know that when I'm with you, it's wild horse right. I love you, and I'll always be there for you. Emotions were leaves in a storm on her face. There were too many different feelings for me to read. I hadn't seen her. I hadn't been with her. She looked happy and angry, satisfied and sad, all at the same time. And she didn't speak. Carla, lost for words. It hurt her, in some way, and I had to break the mood. Sure you don't want to try that coffee? She raised a rattlesnake eyebrow, and was about to fang me, but sounds from the caves alerted us to the presence of others, waking with the dawn. We breakfasted with the happy devotees and were drinking our second mug of chai, when a young student appeared at the ridge of the camp where the steep climb from the forest ended. He accepted a chai gratefully, and announced that the master wouldn't be joining us until after lunch. That's it, Carla muttered, moving to the open kitchen, where she rinsed out her cup and set it on a stand to dry. That's what? I asked, joining her at the sink. I've got time to go down, visit Khalid, and be back before Idris gets here. I'm coming with, I said quickly. Wait a minute, call off the myrmidons. Why are you coming? It wasn't an idle question. Carla didn't idle. Why? Because Khalid's my friend, and I haven't seen him since he walked into the snow nearly 3 years ago. A good friend would leave him the hell alone, right now, she said. What's that supposed to mean? She fixed me with that look. Hunger burning in a tiger's eyes, staring at prey. I loved it. He's happy, she said quietly. And? She glanced at Abdullah, who'd come up to stand beside me. Happy's hard to find, she said at last. I've got absolutely no idea what you're talking about. Happiness has a sign on it, she said. It says do not disturb, but everybody does. Interfering is what we do, I insisted, if we care about someone. Weren't you interfering, when you ripped some skin off me just now? And were you interfering, between Ranjit and me? How? When you asked me if I love him. Abdullah coughed politely. Perhaps I should leave you for some time, he suggested. No secrets from you, Abdullah, Carla said. But you keep plenty of your own, brother, I said. Not telling me that Khalid is here? Fire away at Abdullah, Lynn, Carla interjected. But answer my question first. When you know where we are in this conversation, come get me. You were answering a question. What question? Why? Why what? Why do you love me? Damn it, Carla. You're the most indiscernible woman who ever spoke a common language. Give me a 10-minute head start, she laughed. No, make it 15. What are you planning? She laughed again, and pretty hard. I want to warn Khalid that you're coming, and give him a chance to escape. You know how important that is, don't you? A chance to escape? She walked to the edge of the mesa, then slipped out of sight on the steep path. I waited for the essential 15 minutes to pass. Abdullah was looking at me. I didn't bite. I didn't want to know. Perhaps she is right in this, he said, at last. Not you, too? If Khalid looks at what he has through your eyes, instead of his own eyes, he may believe in himself less than he does now. And I need him to be strong. Is that why you never told me Khalid was here in Bombay? Yes, that was a part of it. To protect his little happiness. He was never a very happy man. You remember that, I am certain. He was, in fact, the most dour and stern man I'd ever known. Every member of his family had been killed in the wars and purges that pursued the Palestinian diaspora into Lebanon. He was so calloused by hatred and sorrow that the most vicious insult in his Hindi vocabulary was the word kashama, meaning forgiveness. I still don't get it, Abdullah. You have an influence over our brother Khalid, he said solemnly. What influence? Your opinion matters very much to him. It always did, and your opinion of him will change when you come to know of his life now. Why don't we cross that bridge before we blow it up? But another part, Abdullah said, his hand on my arm, the biggest part, was to protect him from harm. What do you mean? He was a council member. That's for life. No one can touch him. Yes, but Khalid is the only man who has the authority to challenge Sanjay for the leadership of the council. That can make some resent him or fear him. Only if he challenged Sanjay. In fact, I have asked him to do just that. Abdullah, the most loyal man I knew, was planning a coup. Men would die. Friends would die. Why are you doing this? We need Khalid, perhaps more than you know. He has refused, but I will ask him again, and keep on asking him until he agrees. For now, please keep his presence here a secret, just as I have done. It was a long speech for the taciturn Iranian. Abdullah, none of this applies to me anymore. That's what I've been trying to tell you. I've been trying to find a way to bring this up with you since we got here. Is it too much to ask of you? No, brother, I replied, moving half a step away from him. It's not too much to ask, but it has nothing to do with me anymore. I made a decision, and I've been waiting for a chance to tell you. It's such a big thing that I've pushed it away, after Concannon and the Scorpions, and then seeing Carla up here, after so long. I guess, now is the right time to face it, and get it out there. What decision? Has anyone talked to you about my plan? I let out a heavy sigh. Straightening up, I smiled, and leaned back against a squared-off boulder. No, Abdullah, nobody talked about your plan. I never heard about it, until you told me just now. I made the decision to leave after Lightning Dilip told me that 3 kids cancelled on the dope that De Silva and his crew are selling. But you do not have anything to do with that, and I do not. It is not our operation. We both disagreed with Sanjay when he started Garad and Girls in South Bombay. It was not our decision to make. No, it's more than that, man, I said, looking out at the spirals of storms swirling over the distant city. I can give you 10 good reasons why I should leave, and why I have to leave, but they're not important, because I can't think of one good reason to stay. Bottom line is, I'm just done, that's all. I'm out. The Iranian warrior frowned, his eyes searching left and right through an invisible battlefield for the Lin he knew, while his mind made war on his heart. Will you permit me to persuade you? Trying to persuade isn't just permitted, among good friends, I said, it's required. But please, let me spare you the kindness. I don't want to hear you plead a lost cause for me. I know how you feel, because I feel it myself. The truth is, my mind's made up. I'm already gone, Abdullah. I'm long gone. Sanjay won't like it. You're right about that, I laughed. But I don't have any family ties to the company. I don't have any family, so he doesn't have the mafia card to play against me. And Sanjay knows I'm good with passports. I could always be useful, sometime down the line. He's a cautious guy. He likes options. I'm guessing he won't put fire in my way. That is a dangerous guess, Abdullah mused. Yeah, that it is. If I kill him, your odds will improve. I don't know why I even have to say these words, Abdullah, but here goes. Please don't kill Sanjay, for me. Are we clear on that? It would ruin my appetite for a month, man. Granted. When I take his life, I will purge your benefit from my mind. How about not killing Sanjay at all? I asked. For any reason. And why are we talking about killing Sanjay? How did you let this happen, Abdullah? No, don't tell me. I'm out. I don't want to know. Abdullah mulled it over for a while, his jaw locked, and his lips twitching with the tide of reflection. What will you do? I think I'll freelance, I answered him, my eyes following a shadow of thoughts across his wind-shaped face. I thought I might string with Didier for a while. He's been asking me to throw in with him for years. Very dangerous, he mumbled. More dangerous than this? I asked, and when he opened his mouth to speak, I stopped him. Don't even try, brother. Have you told anyone else about this? No. Make no mistake, Lin, he said, suddenly stern. I am starting a war, and I must win it. Your belief in Sanjay's leadership has been lost, as has mine, and you are no longer with the company. Very well, but I hope that your loyalty to me will ensure your silence concerning my plans. I wish you hadn't told me about it, Abdullah. Conspiracies contaminate, and I'm contaminated now. But you're my brother, man, and if it's a choice between them and you, I'll stand with you every time. Just don't tell me any more about the plan, okay? Didn't anyone ever tell you, there's no curse as cruel as another man's plans? Thank you, Lin, he said, smiling softly. I will do what I can to ensure that the war does not come to your door. I'd prefer it didn't come to my subcontinent. Why war, Abdullah? Walk away, man. I'll stand with you, out here, outside the company, no matter what they throw at us. A war will kill our friends, as well as our enemies. Is anything worth that? He leaned back against the squared stone beside me, his shoulder touching mine. We both looked out over the forest canopy, and then he rested his head on the stone to look into the troubled sky. I lay back against the stone, lifting my face to fields of cloud, plowed by the storm. I cannot leave, Lin, he sighed. We would be good partners, it is true, but I cannot leave. The boy, Tariq. Yes. He is Qadrbai's nephew, and my responsibility. Why? You never told me. His face softened in the sad smile we reserve for the memory of a bitter failure that brought eventual success. Qadrbai saved my life, he said at last. I was young, an Iranian soldier running away from the war with Iraq. I got into bad trouble, here in Bombay. Qadrbai intervened. I could not understand why a mighty Don would reach out to save me, from a death that my pride and my temper had earned. His head was close to mine, but his voice seemed to be coming from somewhere else, somewhere beyond the great stones at our backs. When he granted me an audience, and told me the matter was resolved, assuring me that I was safe from harm, I asked him how I could repay him, Abdullah continued. Qadrbai smiled at me for a long time. You know that smile so well, Lin brother. I do. Still feel it, sometimes. And then he made me spill my blood, with my own knife, and swear on that flowing blood to watch his nephew, Tariq, as a protector, offering my life, if necessary, for as long as I or the boy should live. He was a master of the devil's compact. Ah, yes, Abdullah said quietly, as we sat up and turned to face one another. But that is why I cannot simply walk away from what Sanjay is doing. There are things you do not understand. Things I cannot tell you. But Sanjay is bringing fire on our heads, maybe even on the city itself. Terrible fire. The boy, Tariq, is in danger, and I will do whatever it takes to keep him safe. We stared at one another for a while, not smiling but at peace, somehow. At last he stood up, and slapped me on the shoulder. You will need more guns, he said. I've got 2 guns. Exactly. You need more guns. Leave it to me. I have enough guns, I said, starting to catch up. Leave it to me. I don't need new guns. Everybody needs new guns. Even armies need new guns, and armies have many guns. Leave it to me. Tell you what. If you can find a gun that makes people go to sleep for a couple of days without hurting them, get me one, and a lot of ammunition. Abdullah stopped, and drew me close to whisper. This will be bad, before it is good, Lin. It is not a joke. Please know that I value your silence very highly, the silence of friendship, because I know that you are risking your life, should Sanjay come to know of it. Be prepared for war, the more so if you despise war. Okay, Abdullah, okay. Let us go to Khalid, he said, walking away. Oh, so now it's okay to disturb his little happiness, huh? I said, following him. You are not family now, Lin brother, he said quietly, as I drew alongside him at the edge of the mesa. Your opinion no longer has influence. I stared into his eyes, and it was there. The blur of indifference, the diminishment of love's light and friendship's bright trust, the subtle change in the aura of affections when one still inside the fold looks into the eyes of what lives outside. I'd found a home, a broken home, in the Sanjay company, but the gates were closed there forever. I loved Abdullah, but love is a loyalty of one, and he was still in a band of brothers, loyal to all. That's why I'd waited to tell him. Why I'd let myself drift inside the other tides of Carla's soft-eyed cleverness and Concannon's martial madness. I was losing Abdullah. I struck the tree inside, while we were together in the company, with the axe of separation. And my friend, his eyes drifting on stranger currents, led us over the mesa on the downward path, as thunder tumbled in that threatening sea, the drowning sky. Chapter 28. At the base of the mountain, Abdullah led me away behind the valley of the sandstone Buddhas and its well-cleared paths. We followed a jungle track through thick forest for a few minutes, and then entered a tree-lined approach, rising on a gentle slope to meet a concrete and hardwood house, 3 stories tall. Before we reached the steps leading up to the wide ground floor veranda, Khaled walked out of the vestibule to greet us. Dressed in a voluminous yellow silk robe, and with garlands of red and yellow flowers around his neck, he stood with his fists locked onto his hips. "Shantaram," he shouted. "Welcome to Shangri-La." He'd changed so much in the years since I'd seen him. His hair had thinned to the point that he was almost bald. The fighter's frame had expanded until his hips and belly were wider than his shoulders. The handsome face that had frowned its rage and recrimination at the world was swollen, from temple to vanishing jaw, and his smile all but concealed his golden brown eyes. It was Khaled, my friend. I rushed the steps to greet him. He extended his hands, holding me 2 steps below. A young man in a yellow kurta took a photograph of us, let the camera fall to a strap around his neck, and pulled a notebook and pen from his shirt pocket. "Don't mind Tarun," Khaled said, nodding his head toward the young man. "He keeps a record of everyone I meet, and everything I do and say. I've told him not to do it, but the naughty lad won't listen. And hey, people always do what their hearts tell them to do, isn't it so?" "Well, I got fat," he said. It wasn't regretful or ironic. It was a flat statement of fact. "Well, but you look very fit. What have you been doing to get all those bruises? Boxing with Abdullah? Looks like he got the better of you. No surprise, eh? Certainly, you both look fit enough to make that climb up my mountain, to see Idris." "Your mountain? Well, this part of it is mine, nah? It's actually Idris who thinks he owns the whole mountain. He's such a chud. Anyway, come here, let me give you a hug, and then we'll take a look around." I climbed the last 2 steps and fell into a fleshy cloud. Tarun flashed a photograph. When Khaled released me, he shook hands with Abdullah and led the way inside. "Where's Carla?" I asked, a step behind him. "She said that she will meet you again on the path," Khaled replied breezily. "She is jogging, I think, to clear her mind. I am not sure whether it is you or me that disturbs her peace, but my money is on you, old friend." The entrance to the huge old house opened into a wide vestibule, with staircases left and right, and archways leading to the main rooms of the ground floor. "This was a Britisher's monsoon retreat," Khaled announced, as we moved beyond the vestibule to a sitting room featuring walls of books, 2 writing desks, and several comfortable leather chairs. It passed to a businessman, but when the national park was established here, he was forced to sell it to the city. A rich friend of mine, one of my students, has rented it from the city for some years, and he gave it to me to use." "Your students? Indeed. Oh, I see. Is this where you learn how not to contact your friends when you come back from the dead?" "Very funny, Lin," he replied, in that flat tone he'd used when he'd described himself as fat. "But I think you'll understand my need for discretion." "Fuck discretion. You're not dead, Khaled, and I want to know why I didn't know that. Things are not as simple as you think, Lin. And anyway, what I teach people here has nothing to do with the outside world. I teach love. Specifically, I teach people how to love themselves. I think you're not surprised that for some people, that's not easy." We walked through the sitting room, opened the louvered French doors and entered a wide sunroom, running the whole width of the house. There were many wicker armchairs, with glass-topped tables between them. Softly whirring overhead fans disturbed the slender leaves of potted palms. A wall of glass panels looked out into an English-style garden of rosebushes and neatly clipped hedges. 2 pretty young Western girls dressed in tunics approached us, bowing to Khaled, their palms pressed together. "Please, take a seat," Khaled invited, pointing toward 2 of the wicker chairs. "What will you have, hot drinks or cold?" "Cold," Abdullah answered. "The same." Khaled nodded at the girls. They backed up a few steps before walking away out of sight. Khaled watched them leave. "Good help is so easy to find these days," he sighed contentedly, as he lowered himself into a chair. Tarun made notes. "What happened?" I asked. "What happened?" Khaled repeated, mystified. "The last time I saw you there was a dead lunatic on the ground, and you walked into a snowstorm without a gun. Now you're here. What happened?" "Oh," he smiled. "I see. We're back to that. Yeah, we're back to that. You know, Lin, You got harder since I saw you last. Maybe I did, Khaled. Maybe I just like the truth when I can get it. The truth, he mused. He glanced up at Tarun, who was still making notes. The assistant stopped, caught Khaled's eye, sighed, and put his notebook away. Well, Khaled continued, I walked from Afghanistan. And I walked. And I walked. It's surprising, really, how far you can walk when you don't care if you live or if you die. To be precise, when you don't love yourself. You walked where, exactly? I walked to Pakistan. Tell me about Pakistan, a voice said in my head. And after Pakistan? After Pakistan, I walked to India. Then I walked through India to Varanasi. By the time I got there, word had spread about me. A lot of people were talking about the silent walking Baba, who never spoke a word to anyone. It took me a while to realize they were talking about me. I didn't speak, because by then I actually couldn't speak. Physically, I mean. I was quite sick, from malnutrition. Almost died from it. The hunger, for so many starving months, caused my hair to fall out, and many of my teeth. My mouth was swollen with ulcers. I couldn't say a word, to save my life. He laughed softly, chuckling motes in a sunbeam of memory. But people took my silence for wisdom, you see? Less really is more, sometimes. And in Varanasi, I met an Englishman, Lord Bob, who claimed me as his guru. As it happens, he was very rich. A lot of my students have been rich, in fact, which is funny, when you think about it. He paused, staring out into the English garden, a smile of wonderment pulling at the edges of his mouth. Lord Bob, I prompted. Oh, yes, Lord Bob. He was such a kind and caring man, but he was in need of something. Desperately in need. He spent his whole life searching in vain for the one thing that would give his life meaning, and then he finally came to me for an answer. What was it? I asked. I have no idea, Khaled replied. I had no idea what he was searching for, frankly. Not a clue. He was stinking rich, after all. What could he possibly want? But I don't think it mattered much to Lord Bob that I couldn't help him, because he left me everything when he died. The girls returned with 2 trays, and set them down on tables near us. There were drinks in long glasses, and several dishes of dried papaya, pineapple and mango, and 3 varieties of shelled nuts. Bowing deeply to Khaled, their hands pressed together reverently, the girls backed away and then turned, gliding across the tiled veranda on bare feet. I watched the girls out of sight, and turned to see Khaled, staring dreamily at the garden, and Abdullah staring fixedly at Khaled. I was there, in Varanasi, for nearly 2 years, Khaled reflected. And I miss it, sometimes. He looked around then, and picked up one of the glasses. He handed it to me, passed another to Abdullah, and took a long sip himself. They were good years, he said. I learned a lot from Lord Bob's willingness to subjugate himself and surrender to me. He chuckled. I glanced at Abdullah. Did he say subjugate? Did he say surrender? It was a strange moment in an already strange hour. We sipped our drinks. And he wasn't the only one, of course, Khaled continued. There were many others, even elderly Sadis, all of them too happy to kneel and touch my feet, even though I said nothing at all. And that's when I understood the power that comes into us when another man, even if it's only one other, bends his knee in devotion. I understood that men sell the power of that dream to women every time they propose. He laughed. I stared at my drink, at the lines of moisture that zigzagged through the silver filigree design on the surface of the ruby-red glass. I was becoming increasingly uneasy. The Khaled who spoke so complacently about others kneeling before him wasn't the friend I'd loved. Khaled turned to Abdullah. I think our brother, Lynn, is rather surprised that while my English has improved, in the years with Lord Bob, my American sensibility has declined, wouldn't you say? Every man is responsible for his own actions, Abdullah replied. That law applies to you, and to those who choose to kneel before you, as it does to Lynn, and to me. Well said, old friend. Khaled cried. He placed his glass on the table, and lifted himself with some grunting effort from the chair. Come. I want to show you something. We followed him back into the house and through to the staircases flanking the entrance vestibule. Khaled paused at the foot of the stairs for a moment, his hand resting on the turned wooden pommel. I hope you like the juice, he asked earnestly. Sure. It's the drop of maple syrup that makes the difference, he pressed. There was a pause. I understood, at last, that he wanted a reply. The juice was fine, Khaled, I said. Good juice, Abdullah echoed. I'm so glad, Khaled said flatly. You've got no idea how long it took me to train the kitchen staff on the juices. I had to flog one of them with a spatula. And the drama I had with the desserts, don't let me go there. You have my word, I said. He took one step, but then turned quickly to speak to Tarun, who'd been following us. You can wait here, Tarun, Khaled said. In fact, take a break. Get yourself a biscuit. Crushed, Tarun ambled away. Khaled watched him leave, suspicion squinting in his eyes. The old Khaled could have taken the steps 3 at a time, and beaten any man in Bombay to the top floor. The new Khaled paused twice on the first flight. This floor, he puffed, as we reached the first floor, has all of our main meditation and yoga halls. Do a lot of yoga, then? I asked, channeling the impish spirit of Gemini George for a moment. No, Khaled replied seriously. I'm much too fat and unfit for that. I was always a boxing and karate man, anyway. You remember that, Lin? I remembered. I remembered when Khaled could fight any man in the city but Abdullah into the ground, and still have energy to spare. But yoga is very popular with my people. They're at it all the time. They'd did all night, if I let them. I practically have to hose them down to make them stop. Through the nearest door in the corridor, we could see a class of 12 people, sitting on mats. Flute music came from speakers fixed to the walls. Regaining his breath, Khaled led us to the second floor. The corridor at that level showed many closed doors, running the length of the building. Dormitories, Khaled wheezed, and single rooms. He gently eased open the door to the nearest room. We saw several girls, sleeping on single beds under tent-pole mosquito nets. The girls were naked. My most devoted students, Khaled said, in that same bewilderingly flat tone. What the fuck, Khaled? I snapped, but he put his finger to his lips, silencing me. Please, Lin, be quiet. We won't get a minute's peace if you wake them up. Okay. Bye, Khaled, I said, leaving. What are you doing? Khaled asked, a puzzle stamped on his forehead. Well, I'm gonna keep on walking until I'm not here. That's what goodbye means. No, Lin. What's the matter? He asked, pulling the door closed gently. The matter? I said, stopping at the top of the stairs. What's that in there, a harem? Have you gone nuts, Khaled? Who do you think you are? Everyone here is free to leave, Lin, he said flatly, his frown darkening at the edges. Including you. What a coincidence, I sighed, turning to go. I was just leaving. No, I'm sorry, he said, rushing forward and putting a hand on my shoulder to stop me. There's something you have to see. Something I must show you. It's a secret I want to share with you. I've had enough secrets for one day, Khaled. Call me when you come down off the mountain. But Abdullah hasn't seen the secret yet. You can't deprive him, as well, can you? That would be cruel. Abdullah, wouldn't you like to know the secret? I would, Khaled, Abdullah replied, all fascinated innocence. Then, tell Lin. Convince him to stay. Whatever the case, I'm going up to see the secret, and you're welcome to come along, if you want, my brothers. He released his grip on my shoulder, braced himself with a deep breath for the climb to the 3rd floor, and then trudged up the stairs. I held Abdullah back. What are we doing here, Abdullah? What do you mean? A room full of naked girls? What's the matter with him? There's plenty of girls. The world's full of girls. Having your own room full of girls is what gives creepy a bad name. Come on, brother. Let's go. But, Lin, Abdullah whispered. What about the secret? Are you kidding? It is a secret. A real secret. I don't like the secret I heard already, Abdullah. How can you not want to know? Let's just say I've got psychic asthma, and right now, I need fresh air. It's medicinal. Let's go. Please stay with me, Lin, just until the secret is unveiled. I sighed. Are you guys coming? Khaled called out from his resting place, halfway up the flight of stairs. These stairs are killing me. I'm getting an elevator installed next week. Abdullah gave me his pleading frown. Okay, I called back, heading up the stairs. Plodding wearily, Khaled followed the elbow turn of the stairs and finally came to a closed door. Fetching a key from the folds of his kaftan, he opened the door and ushered us inside. It was dark. The light from the stairwell revealed an attic room, with the folded arms of roof beams above our heads. Khaled closed the door, locked it, and clicked on a suspended light bulb. It was a hoard of objects in gold and silver, jeweled necklaces and chains, spilling from little wooden chests, scattered across several tables. There were candlesticks and mirrors, picture frames, hairbrushes, strings of pearls, jeweled bracelets, watches, necklaces, brooches, rings, earrings, nose rings, toe rings, and even several black and gold wedding necklaces. And there was money, a lot of money. No matter how I tried to explain this, Khaled said, breathing through his open mouth, nothing could ever be clearer than seeing it for yourself, nah? This is the power of the bended knee. Do you see? Do you see? There was a softly breathing silence. Pigeons brooded in a distant corner of the roofline, their warbled comments echoing in the long, closed room. Finally, Khaled spoke again. Tax-free, he wheezed. He looked from Abdullah to me and back again. Well? What do you think? You need more security, Abdullah observed. Ha! Khaled laughed, clapping the tall Iranian on the back. Are you volunteering for the job, my old friend? I have a job, he replied, even more seriously. Yes, of course you do, but your students gave you all this stuff? I asked. Actually, I call them students, but they refer to themselves as devotees, Khaled said, staring at the hoard. There was even more than this. More than this? Oh, yes. A lot of other gifts from my devotees in Varanasi. But I had to leave there rather quickly, and I lost everything. Lost it how? To the police, as a bribe, Khaled replied. That's why Lord Bob set me up here, in this house, just before he died. Why did you have to leave Varanasi so quickly? Why do you want to know, Lynn, my old friend? The jewels from the treasure were glittering in his eyes. You brought it up, man. He stared at me for a while, hesitating on the glacial edge of cold-hearted truth. He decided to trust me, I guess. There was a girl, he said. A devotee, a very sincere devotee, who came from a prominent Brahmin family. She was beautiful and ultimately devoted to me, body and soul. I didn't know she was below the age. Come on, Khaled. I couldn't know. You live here, Lynn. You know how precocious these young Indian girls can be. She looked 18, I swear. Her breasts were swollen like ripe mangoes. And the sex was fully mature. But, alas, she was only 14. Khaled, you just officially freaked me out. No, Lynn. Understand me. Understand sex with kids? You want me to see it your way? Is that it, Khaled? But it won't happen again. Again? It can't happen again. I've taken measures. You're making this worse every time you open your mouth, Khaled. Listen to me. I make every one of them show me a birth certificate now, especially the younger ones. I'm protected, now. You're protected? Let's stop all this serious talk, Yar. We all have things in the past that we regret, no? We have a saying, in Arabic. Take counsel from he who makes you weep, not from he who makes you laugh. I haven't made you laugh today, Lynn, but that doesn't mean my counsel is worthless. Khaled, I want you to know that you, and Abdullah, my only remaining brothers, will always be safe, now. This power, this money and my inheritance, it's all ours. What are you talking about, Khaled? Money, to expand the business, he unexplained. What business? This business. The ashram. The time has come to franchise. We can run this together and spread out through India and eventually to America. The sky's the limit. Literally, in fact, Khaled. That's why I've waited so long to contact you. I had to accumulate this fund base. I brought you here to show you something that's yours, as much as it is mine. You're right about that, I said. I'm so glad you understand. I mean that this stuff you've got here isn't ours, Khaled, and it isn't yours. What does that mean? It was given to something bigger than we are, and you know it. But you don't understand, he insisted. I want you both in this with me. We can make millions. But the spiritual industry is a vicious business. I'll need you, as we move on. I've already moved on, Khaled. But we can franchise. Khaled hissed, all teeth. We can franchise. Khalid, I must leave the city, Abdullah said suddenly, urgency rasping his voice. What? Khalid asked, shaken from a tree of plans. I want to ask you, one more time, to leave this place, and these people, and come back to Bombay with me. Again, Abdullah? Khalid said. Take your rightful place at the head of the council that was Qadarbai's. We are in a time of trouble, and it will become much worse. We need you to lead us. We need you to push Sanjay aside and lead us. If you come now, Sanjay will live. If you don't, one of us will kill him, and then you will have to lead anyway, for the sake of the company. In that new avatar, Khalid was the opposite of what I considered to be a leader of men. But Abdullah, an Iranian who'd tuned his heart to the music of Bombay's streets, didn't see the man who stood with us in the attic room. Abdullah saw the prestige that attached itself to Khalid's long and intimate friendship with Qadarbai, and the authority that bled from the many battles and gang wars Khalid had presided over and won for the company. I was done with the Sanjay company, my mind was made up, but I knew that new Khalid's taste for subjugation would add fire to old Khalid's unhesitating use of power. Crime mixed with anything is fatal, which is why we're fascinated by it. Crime mixed with religion redeems saviors with the sacrifice of sinners. I didn't want Khalid to accept Abdullah's offer. Once more, I tell you that I can't accept, Khalid smiled. But with friendship and respect, I want you to consider my offer. It's a golden opportunity to get in on the ground floor, before the spiritual industry really takes off. We can make millions from yoga alone. You must think of the company, Khalid, Abdullah pressed. You must follow your destiny. It will not happen, Khalid responded, the little smile still on his lips. But I do appreciate your kindness in considering me again. Now, before you take a final decision, I ask you to think on all my treasures and join me at lunch. I'm starved, I don't mind telling you. I'm done, I said. You're, what? Khalid, I was already done when you showed me the harem. I'm leaving. Does that mean you won't be taking any food? Khalid asked, locking the door. It means goodbye, again, Khalid. But it's bad luck not to eat food that has been prepared for you, he warned. I'll have to risk it. But it's Kashmiri sweets. A Kashmiri sweet chef is one of my devotees. You have no idea how hard they're to get. I crossed the entry hall, Khalid bustling behind me. Tarun joined us, trotting at his master's side. Oh, well, he puffed, walking with us onto the front veranda. He gave me a damp, spongy hug, shook hands with Abdullah, and waved as we walked the gravel path. Come back anytime, he called. You're always welcome. We show movies on Wednesday nights. We serve ice-cold fernie. And we dance on Thursdays. I'm learning to dance. Can you believe it? Beside him, Tarun made new entries in his notebook. At the first bend in the path we found Carla waiting for us. She was sitting on a fallen tree and smoking a cigarette. So, did you piss on his pilgrimage, Shantaram? You could have given me a little more warning before I saw him, I said, feeling beaten by the truth. What the hell happened to him? He got happy, more or less, she answered softly. In his case, a little more than less. Are you happy to see him like this? They both stared at me. Oh, come on. They continued to stare. Okay, I conceded. Maybe I just want my friend back. Don't you miss him? Khalid is here, Lynn, Abdullah replied. But, save your breath for the climb, Carla said, heading back toward the path. Do you gangsters ever shut up? We approached the ascent to the first caves, and she began to run at a slow jog. When we reached the steep climb, she was still ahead of us. As we struggled upwards, I couldn't help staring at the sandline curves of her body, contoured by the climb. Men are dogs, Didier once said to me, without the manners. Are you staring at my ass? She asked. Afraid so. Forgive him, Carla, Abdullah said to cover somebody's embarrassment. He simply stares because you are climbing like an ape. Carla laughed, clutching at the vines on the path to hold her place. That big, true laugh rang through domes of branches risen with the cliff. She held her free hand out to Abdullah, warning him not to say another word until the laughter rushed away from her. Thank you, Abdullah, she said at last. Don't mention. And laughing and joking, we three exiles climbed the mountain that would change everything, for each of us, forever. Chapter 29. When we reached the summit there was just enough time to freshen up.